Good evening and welcome to tonight's Southbridge Town Council meeting. We are holding a joint meeting tonight with the Board of Assessors. It is 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers, and we'll start with a roll call, please.
Councilor Eau Claire? Present. Councilor Crosco?
Present.
Councilor Clements?
Absent.
Councilor Estrada?
Present.
Councilor Manna?
Present.
Councilor Moriarty?
Present.
Councilor Steves?
Present.
Councilor Vandal?
Present.
Councilor Vecchia?
Present.
8 here.
Thank you. And we also have with us Mr. Will Canoyer and Mr. Fran Bousquet from the Board of Assessors. Agenda item number 3 is to review candidate request of John Swenson of Southbridge to fill a vacancy on the Board of Assessors effective immediately through June 30, 2016 due to member resignation, and entertain a motion to vote candidate to Board of Assessors to complete this term.
Second.
Okay. So we have one candidate, Mr. Swenson, and I will at this point turn it over to Mr. Canoyer.
Well, Mr. Swenson has expressed his interest to serve on the board to me. I'm very familiar with him and his record in the community. He's a former town councilor, and he serves on, I believe it's the Traffic Commission as well. So, and he is our only candidate at this time, so he has my support.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilor Steves.
Yeah, through you to Will. How much outreach did you do to try to find other candidates for this?
Well, outreach, I believe it was on the website, and it was announced.
I know we announced it up here, yeah.
I beg your pardon.
I know Sean announced it at one point.
Right.
A couple of times.
Outreach, as I say, it was on the website and it was announced here. Mr. Swenson expressed an interest to me, and I told him to submit his name and go forward with that. Other than that, I did not do any outreach.
Okay.
Come on.
Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I know that off of what Councilor Steves has said, that it has been announced and it has been on the scroll and it has been out there in regards to vacancies needing to be filled, the appointments for the Board of Assessors and the school committee. If Mr. Swenson could come up and just maybe say a couple of things, that would be really wonderful.
Yes.
Well, I'm just, why are you interested in serving on the Board of Assessors?
I've lived in Southbridge for 18 years now, and, I feel a sense of community, and I think it's almost like an obligation to do something for your community when you have the opportunity, and if the opportunity presents itself, I'd be more than happy to do that.
All set, Councilor?
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilor Steves.
What kind of specific experience do you have that relates to being an assessor?
My experience, it would be more in the business sector. In my line of employment, what I had to do oftentimes was to kind of arbitrate two different points of view. Mm-hmm. And I can see that being a strength in this position.
Okay, do you have any experience dealing with the financial and money calculation side of assessing?
I've had a lot of experience dealing with a lot of financial things in the business world. As far as assessing residential property, no, that doesn't come up too often in the private sector.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. Okay. Councilor
Manna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just a reminder that this is originally a position, an elected position, and to fill this position, you don't necessarily need experience. You just need to be a voter that lives in the town of Southbridge. So I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I have Mr. Canoyer and then Councilor Van.
Yeah, Mr. Swenson, I just want to relay to you an observation and an experience of my own. In 1987, when I first got married and I bought my first house, I was young and a lot younger than I am now. There was a very similar situation. I see School Committee Chairman Lazo in the audience. At the time, he was the chairman of the town council, and I believe his brother was on the Board of Assessors, and his brother left to run for town council, which he did, so he resigned his position. So 30 years ago, just like you, I responded to an advertisement in the newspaper. They were looking for somebody to volunteer and fill in. I decided to do that. I was interviewed in the same place you were. I had no idea, but there was another candidate. That night, we got interviewed, and the council selected one of us. And they asked me the same question, why do you want to be on the Board of Assessors? I'll never forget that. And in my mind, it's like, what do the assessors do? And at the time, I owned a business, and I continued to operate that business for another 13, 14 years. And in my wildest dreams, I never expected that I would be an assessor doing that as a profession for a living. And never did I expect 30 years later I'd be sitting here with deja vu doing it again. So maybe in 30 years you'll be up here doing the same thing I am. I don't know. But
Highly unlikely.
I just commend you for, bottom line, I hate to go drag on. I commend you for volunteering,
Thank you.
as you do for many, many other things. I do have one question. So your appointment is to fill an unexpired term till June 30th, at which time there'll be an election to fill the next, the 3-year term. Would you be a candidate at that time, or do you
Yes.
envision yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Vandal.
I can vote for Mr. Swenson. You can't find a better man for this job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clinton.
Just quickly then, to Mr. Canoyer, with your track record here, and certainly Mr. Bousquet has been involved for a while as well, how often do we have multiple candidates for this sort of a position banging down the door?
It's very rare because, I mean, our board works in the backgrounds. We do a lot of hours. You don't get many. And I'm thrilled that we have a good, fine candidate like Mr. Swenson to fill it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Steves.
My one concern is I have nothing against you as a person or as a candidate. My one concern is that if we appoint Mr. Swenson to the board, that means all of the assessors will actually be from the same neighborhood. They will all be from Country Club Place.
They would all live in the same part of town, is what you're saying?
All live on Country Club Place. How? I'm kind of concerned about that.
Why?
Because it's not representative of the whole community.
Somebody else should have applied. Sorry.
I agree with that. I wish somebody had. But as I said, I have nothing against him or the other people that are on it, so.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns at this time? Seeing none, a roll call, please.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Vecchia?
Yes.
Counselor O'Clair?
Yes.
9 yes?
Motion carries. And at this point,
But don't the assessors actually have to vote on him too?
Yes, I vote for Mr. Swenson.
Me too.
okay, so at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, we are adjourned.